Hey there, teachers. Imagine a membership site that gives you everything you need to create impactful literacy lessons all in one place. That's exactly what you get with the Colorful Literacy Toolkit. Especially when it comes to word-level work like phonics and morphology instruction, this toolkit has you covered. It's packed with science of reading aligned resources and activities that make your small group table come alive, helping every student break down words with confidence. And the best part? Doors are now open for a limited time, and you can become a founding member. Head over to michelleandthecolorfulclassroom.com to take a look at what's inside. Your best year in literacy is just a click away. Check it out. You're listening to episode 4 of Literacy in Color. For today's coaching conversation, we're talking to Hannah Irion-Frake, and she's currently a literacy coach with more than 16 years of classroom experience in 2nd and 3rd grade. She's a graduate of Bucknell University, Bloomsburg University, and the University of Massachusetts Lowell, with master's degrees in both reading and curriculum and instruction. Hannah's a local LETRS facilitator and is committed to spreading awareness of the science of reading. She shares actively about structured literacy practices on her Instagram account at Reading with Mrs. If and on her blog. And you're going to love hearing about Hannah's experience in her first few weeks as a literacy coach. Welcome to the Literacy in Color podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Sullivan, a science of reading advocate with over a decade of experience as a reading interventionist and literacy coach. I'm passionate about making evidence-based instruction both effective and engaging. If you're interested in captivating our learners on reading fluently and understanding language, or as I like to call it, keeping it colorful, then you've found the right place. Each week, we'll explore intriguing lit bits and practical strategies around the science of reading and structured literacy to help you be colorful and teach colorfully. Are you ready to bring literacy to life? Let's color outside the lines and make an impact together. Hello, everyone. Today, you are in for a real treat because we have Hannah Irion-Frake from Reading with Mrs. If with us, and we are going to be talking all about navigating the early days as a literacy coach. So welcome to the show, Hannah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. I have loved following you on Instagram, and prior to this year, you were a 3rd grade teacher. So I am so curious to hear about your initial experiences as a literacy coach. So let's talk a little bit about your coaching journey and what inspired you to become a literacy coach.
Yeah. So I feel like it's maybe not the typical journey, or maybe it is, who knows, but being a literacy coach was not something that was always on my radar. I honestly, if you'd asked me even like 3 years ago, I would have said, no way, I'm not ready to leave the classroom. Like I'm just happy being in 3rd grade and having my own little community. But I was thinking back to like when this whole journey really started, and I hate to give COVID any kind of positive credit, but that's really when it all began. So during COVID, when everything kind of shut down, is when I decided with all that extra time, I was going to start LETRS training. And so I went through LETRS training as a participant myself for the first time and got, as many others have, I'm sure, sucked into that like vortex of science of reading and just became obsessed with it.
The vortex, I love that.
If you've gotten sucked in, you know what I'm talking about, where you can't read enough, you can't watch enough, you can't listen to enough, you just want to know everything. So after I finished LETRS training, I knew that I wanted to bring it to my district. I wanted my colleagues and the teachers that I work with to go through it. And so I started really, nagging is probably the right word, but asking over and over again my wonderful superintendent if I could please be the local LETRS facilitator for my district. And I appreciate so much that she trusted me and said, yes, you can run with it, go with it. And so in 2022, I started training others in LETRS in my district, and it sort of took off from there. But the thing that came out of that LETRS training is that my colleagues would say to me over and over again, I love this. This content is amazing. I get it. but how am I going to do this in my classroom? Like, how am I going to take this back and put it into action? And so I almost became an unofficial coach as I was helping people like navigate LETRS content back into the classroom. And so really with like the encouragement of my colleagues, we started nagging again for a literacy coach position. And so the rest is history. Here I am it's our first district literacy coach and my first year of being one. So
that's amazing. And I think just being a LETRS facilitator in itself, you already feel like you're filling that coaching role, and now it's official and you can help your teachers feel more confident in applying LETRS in their classroom because, that's the teacher knowledge, but what do I do with the knowledge? What does that look like? And that's so important. Do you think you have any other background or experience that is helping you navigate your new role?
Yeah, it's sort of a unique perspective maybe, although I think many people have had a similar journey to what I'm about to describe. So I've always been sort of obsessed with literacy and all things reading, but I'm that classic story that we hear of people who were all in balanced literacy, who then learned about the science of reading and had a real like know better, do better moment. So I've always been really focused on literacy. And I think having that perspective of feeling like you knew what you were doing as a balanced literacy teacher and then realizing I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't even know what I didn't know. And then making the shift and going through, that's hard work, going through that like journey, that transition. There's a lot of like guilt that comes with it and a lot of relearning and unlearning. And so I think I find that I encounter that in my district now. A lot of other people were very balanced literacy and are now shifting to science of reading and structured literacy. And so I feel like having empathy for that journey has been really, really helpful in this new position because a lot of people, they know that like I used to do it this way and now I do it a better way. And I'm here to help you at your own speed. So that I think has given me some really nice perspective for working with teachers and having a lot of empathy and patience. And then of course, the content from LETRS is just very thorough and all encompassing. And then I'm off on tangents all the time doing trainings and webinars and reading things. And
I love how you talked about the human perspective because oftentimes we think of literacy coaches as just these knowledge experts, like they know everything when it comes to literacy, but there's so much about the human connection and, like you said, relating to the teachers that you're working with and building those relationships. And, you've walked in their shoes and you're ready to help them make the transformation. And it's even helpful for those who are resistant to coaching. Like, I don't want to be coached. It was working the way that I used to be doing it. And you have that background story to share with them, which is huge.
Yeah. And I do try to always like anytime I'm presenting something new or like sharing a new idea, I do talk about, well, we maybe used to do it this way and I used to do it this way. And now that we know better, we're going to do it a different way. So
perfect. So in year one, actually, we're just a couple months in, maybe a month in. Yeah. What are some of the responsibilities and tasks that come along with your new role as a coach?
So it's been a busy it's probably about a month that I've been in school and like hit the ground running. But the three main things that are taking up my time right now, first was all of our beginning of the year data collection that we needed to do. We are a district that uses Acadience as our screening assessment. So we use Acadience K5. And then we also tried the Pearl assessment this year with our kindergarten students, which is an early dyslexia screener and oral language screener. So there was a lot of like navigating schedules and getting a SWAT team together to get in and assess. And I work with some amazing teachers and reading specialists who just jumped in with me and were willing to help and get all of that done as quickly as possible. But it's definitely a new perspective to, like, as the literacy coach, thinking about how do we get all of our beginning of the year screening assessments finished instead of only having to worry about your one class. So that was a big part of like the first couple weeks. Now we're really in the thick of it with working on our MTSS framework. and what we have going on with that. So our district is also pretty new to implementing MTSS, or multi-tiered systems of support. We have varying degrees of it happening at different grade levels. And I think as the literacy coach, one of my unspoken jobs is to sort of pull it all together and make sure that it's happening the right way across grade levels. So I'm in the thick of that right now. And I've been trying to provide like small bite-sized PD about MTSS because there's a lot of misunderstandings out there and a lot of confusion. And then teachers feel like stressed because they don't really understand what's supposed to be happening. So I've been trying to do that to help teachers out with like a little bit here and there. And then we also, within our MTSS framework, we do a walk to intervention model. So we've been collecting our beginning of the year data, doing some additional diagnostic assessments with kiddos that need it. And then I created one grade level spreadsheet so kids can plug kids in at their lowest level of need for literacy. And then we assigned teachers to those groups. So we had classroom teachers and learning support teachers and reading specialists who were able to help. And so we're in it right now with like assigning groups and getting kids up and moving and then talking about how we're going to progress monitor these kids and all that great stuff. So that's been a big chunk of my plate. And then the third thing that I've really been working on a lot is supporting the new phonics curriculum that we've adopted in our district. So we have new curriculum at K1 and 2 that is much more science of reading informed and structured literacy, lots of explicit phonics instruction. And that's new for a lot of teachers. So helping with the implementation of that has been taking up a lot of time as well.
Yeah, that's all huge. And you think about, as a classroom teacher, you're so laser focused on your own kids, right? But sometimes coaching, you have to see the big picture and, step out of it and do this more grandiose kind of planning. So they are lucky to have you helping with all those systems. And our district too, we've always done prevention, but we've reframed to MTSS. And just being involved in the whole system, it can feel overwhelming at first. And what are these data team meetings supposed to look like? What are these grade level goals supposed to look like? So just having a coach in the thick of it to help implement all of the goals at hand can be so helpful. So your teachers are really, really lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think it's having that central person who gets to oversee the whole process is just, we've been asking for that in my district, and I'm super excited that it gets to be me, that I'm the one that gets to do that. But we have teachers at so many different points in their learning journey about the science of reading, about MTSS, that it is nice to have one person who sort of keeps the big picture front and center instead of getting lost in grade level teams.
Yeah, definitely. So what strategies have you found helpful in building relationships with teachers and establishing trust as a brand new coach? And it sounds like you already had great relationships prior.
Yeah, I do feel like I have a little bit of an unfair advantage when it comes to this because I'm not a new hire in my district. I'm just in a new position. The grassroots nature of LETRS training coming to our district and having colleagues advocate for me to be the literacy coach, I think has really helped with buy-in and trust. And so I feel a little like I cheated a little in having that already in place as I came into this position. I was thinking of things that would help, or that I think have helped with being a LETRS facilitator and moving into this coaching position, and what things helped build trust as a LETRS facilitator and then like segueing into coaching. And the one thing that keeps coming to mind over and over again is just being able to walk the walk with the teachers. And like, not that you have to know everything or be everywhere, but make sure your colleagues know that you're in it for the right reasons and that you are willing to put in the work that needs to be done for the kids and for them as professionals. I think that really goes a long way. Like as a coach, I'm helping with beginning of the year assessments. I'm offering to help with when we're doing phonics surveys with some of our kiddos who were below benchmark on the Acadience measures. I'm in the classroom helping teachers do that. I have picked up 3 different intervention groups in kindergarten and first grade because we didn't have anybody else to run them. Sitting with teachers and digging through data and showing them what different things mean. I just think that really makes a big difference in teachers going and trusting what you're there to do. I think another thing that has been really helpful is being willing to sit down with teachers when they ask for help and just talking through stuff. The teachers that I work with are amazing and they know so many things. And sometimes they second guess themselves or they're not sure if they're doing something the right way. And so they just want to talk about it. And like 9 times out of 10, I'm like, you've got it. You're absolutely doing the right thing. And they just wanted to sit and listen to somebody kind of like bounce back and forth with them. So I definitely think that helps, being present and available to talk. And then the third thing that I think will go a long way is if you are willing to share any and everything that you can share with teachers. So sending them activities and resources and information, as a former classroom teacher myself, you just don't have a lot of time in your day to go searching for things all the time. So if someone is able to help you out with what you need, that really is really helpful.
Yeah, totally. And I feel like the big themes here are approachability and relatability. And you are rolling up your sleeves and getting messy with them. And, some people view coaches as this lofty position where you're kind of working for central office and you're kind of above the teachers, but not really. The coaches are on the same level as the teachers. There's a confidentiality aspect where the conversations are personal. You're not reporting back to administration about them. And the goal is to help the students, right? And when you have that in mind, then you're moving the mountains.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So what has been one of the biggest challenges you've faced so far in these first few weeks of school?
That one's easy. It's time management, like learning how to sort of set my own schedule that's different every day and remembering all the things that need to go into the daily schedule and the weekly schedule and making sure that I have time to do the tasks that I'm supposed to do while also meeting with teachers and running data meetings. That has been probably the steepest learning curve for me so far. And then sort of paired with that is that I tend to have ambitious goals that I think will get accomplished faster than they'll really will get accomplished. So thinking, we can do all of our Acadience testing in 1 week. And no, we can't with 6 different grade levels. That's not realistic. So that has been something that I've had to slow myself down and really think about how much time it'll take to do certain things that need to be done and how much we can really fit into a grade level data meeting at a time without, my colleagues having cognitive overload and just pacing myself for sure.
Yeah, that's so hard. I remember my first year coaching. I'm like, did I take a lunch today? Did I have a prep today? Usually not, because I wanted to push into as many classrooms as I could. If somebody asked for help, I'm like, be there in 2 minutes. And, you want to help, but at the same time, like you do need time to take care of yourself, but you also need time to plan things. And there's a lot of responsibilities of the coach that aren't always face-to-face interactions too. So it is really hard to juggle all that. I can really resonate with that myself.
It's funny you say that because I have started just last week, I started putting lunch on my schedule so that I would make sure that I didn't schedule things all day long and not have any time to eat.
Yeah, I know. You're important too. All right. So lofty goals. Looking ahead, have you set any professional goals that you hope to accomplish in year 1 as a coach?
Yeah, I'm honestly a little scared to even say it out loud because once you put it out there into the universe, then it could either happen or it could not happen. But
it's going to happen.
I hope so. So I feel like for this year, I've got data on my mind, just nonstop thinking about data. So we've been very intentional with using beginning of the year data to get our students grouped into intervention groups that are very informed by what data we have and what students need. a big shift for us is going to be progress monitoring. I've set the lofty goal of making sure that it happens, that we are progress monitoring every student who is not hitting those benchmarks on Acadience, because those are the kids who should be having some kind of intervention. And we need progress monitoring to make sure that they are either succeeding, or if not, we have to intensify what's happening for them. And then we're going to be very mindful of mid-year and end of the year data, both at the student level, but also at kind of a systems level, and looking at, are we sort of hitting the mark with our tier 1 core instruction in the way that we need to be? Our classroom percentage is looking pretty good. And so I'm really hoping that we see some positive trajectories with all that data, because I think that is going to lead to really awesome teacher buy-in across the board, and then admin support if they're seeing data that looks really, really good, and even like community support for the work that teachers are doing in the classroom. And so those are my sort of unspoken but now spoken goals, is that I really want to see awesome data trends in our Acadience data.
And you will. No, I love that. And the cool thing about progress monitoring is that you have these check-ins where you're going to be able to see, are things working? Do I need to shift? Do I need to adjust? I need to have you back for a data episode, because I feel like that is such a difficult thing to navigate for so many teachers, coaches, administrators, everyone making those big, big goals, big, big plans. So can you describe one of the most rewarding moments you've had in your coaching journey so far?
Yeah, definitely. This is going to be maybe a strange story, but I think not for people who've maybe been in it before in this particular type of situation. So one of my soapboxes that I love to like just stand on, and I get on a roll with it, is the power of like early prevention for our kindergarten and our first grade students. And that if we can catch those kids early, then we set them up for success, and we eliminate that reading failure that pops up in second and third and fourth grade and is so hard to remediate in public school. And so I've been talking about that with my kindergarten and first grade teams quite a bit. And this story comes from a first grade meeting that we had recently. So we were looking at our beginning of the year Acadience data, and I asked my teachers to look at all of their students and how they did on letter naming fluency. And then I wanted them to give all of the students who struggled with letter naming fluency like an alphabet knowledge assessment. So I wanted to know, do they know the names of all the letters, and do they know the sounds, the main sound that goes with each letter? We ended up using the LETRS phonics and word reading survey, just that first page that has letter naming and sounds. There's lots of them out there, and Really Great Reading has a good one too that you can use. And they said, okay, we can do that with all those kids. And then what? And I said, and then I want a list of every student in your class that does not know their letter names and their letter sounds. And one of the teachers looked at me and she goes, you want all of the names? She was like, it's going to be a long list. And it wasn't actually as long as they were worried. But I said, absolutely, because a student who doesn't know all their letter names and letter sounds at the beginning of first grade, that's a huge red flag. And we have time now to do something about it. And so they did that work and got us the lists. And the two other reading specialists in my building and myself, we split up the kids, and we've been running alphabet knowledge intervention groups since about the second to third week of school. And we're already seeing progress with these kids. And I just think that without that sort of like, no, we're doing it now and we're starting it now, they might have made it another month or so before we really got into providing them with that intervention. And so that is something that I'm just really excited about and proud of. And I know that this literacy coach position has made it possible for me to do things like that. So that's been the best moment so far.
Wow. Hats off to you. And it's so true. Sometimes the beginning of the year, as a classroom teacher, you're collecting the data and it's hard to get a jump start on intervention. So having that extra person to provide kind of like a boot camp, a jump start, and hit the ground running. And first grade in particular is such a pivotal year. We know that they make such gains. And if they don't make those gains by first grade, it's a hard thing to catch up on. But wow, that is so commendable. I'm sure those teachers are so thankful. And gosh, those students too, because you're setting them up for success for the rest of their literacy lives, really. So special.
Yeah.
All right. Are there any coaching specific resources you'd recommend for a coach just starting out?
Yeah, definitely. So I think about this in two camps. So if you are new to literacy coaching or new in a coaching position and you need more knowledge about the content you're going to be coaching about, literacy specific, I would always first and foremost recommend LETRS training because I just think it's the best of the best. I'm a little biased myself, but as a facilitator, but I know that can be difficult to act. Like if your district isn't going to support it, that can be hard too. I know that 95% Group has their top 10 tools, which is another great training opportunity. I think those sort of well-rounded training experiences are really, really helpful for building knowledge. And you can also go to really reliable sources like the Reading League has excellent information. IDA, or the International Dyslexia Association, they have really reliable, reputable information. So those are good places to go to really up your knowledge about the content that you're going to be coaching. But the other sort of camp that I might recommend for literacy coaches, if you have a lot of knowledge, but you need a place to go for kind of ongoing professional development or a place to go and ask questions, like where you're going to get answers right away, I would recommend Dr. Stephanie Stahler's The Reading Science Academy.
I'm a member.
Yeah. Anytime I have a question that I don't know the answer to, or I don't know where to go find the answer, I just go ask that group because there are so many knowledgeable people in that group. I mean, Stephanie, of course, first and foremost, but
genius. Yeah.
But so many other people that can just share resources and answers and experiences. And so I feel like it's like my magic weapon, because already twice this year, I've said to teachers, I don't know, but I know where to ask. So I'll get back to you.
Yeah. And your last statement right there, I love that about a coach too, because coaches are not all knowing, but being resourceful and looking for the answers for them and coming back, I think is such a great asset for a coach. But I completely agree with those recommendations. I think those are all fabulous. I love the Reading Science Academy myself. I feel like the Facebook group is a gold mine. I'll never want to lose it.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Do you have any final encouragement or advice for coaches just starting out?
I would say that it is okay to be learning alongside the teachers that you are coaching. So sort of to piggyback off of what we were just saying, like you don't have to know all the answers. You don't have to have an immediate response to everything someone asks you. It's okay to go search for the answer or to know where to go look for it or to know people to ask. And I think that teachers appreciate just the effort that you put into finding the answer for them if you don't know it right off the top of your head. And so don't worry about having to know everything or have everything ready to go all the time. Just do the best you can and you'll get better at it as you go.
Yeah, that is such great advice. And I remember my first year coaching, I hadn't had experience with fifth grade before. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to learn the fifth grade curriculum. I'm so scared. I'm afraid of the fifth graders. I loved the primary grades personally. And I was learning some of the curriculum alongside the teachers, but just being a strong teacher myself and then being willing to learn and being willing to roll up your sleeves and being willing to do it all with them, I think is part of the journey. And it just shows, I think, the helping nature of coaches too.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Last question is just for fun. I'm going to be asking all of the coaches I have on this little series, what are your 3 top tools that you think every literacy coach should have in their coaching toolkit? And it could be physical tools or knowledge related.
Yeah, I think my list might change as I get further along in the school year, but for the beginning of the year, one, I would say you need a really good system for organizing your schedule and your to-do list. And I tried a couple different things already within the first month of school and sort of settled on, I found a Google Sheets template that has a column for each day of the week with like hourly schedule slots. And then the last column is a checklist, like a to-do checklist. And that has been working for me. I'm not forgetting things. I'm not double booking myself to help people. And I was trying to do the sticky note system on my desk, and that really quickly got out of control. So I know my system might not work for everybody, but find a system that works for you so that you don't feel like a crazy person, like running around like a chicken with your head cut off.
I know you have to write it down or you'll forget it.
Mine being in a Google Sheets, I can open it on my computer. I can open it on my phone. I can look at it in lots of different places. So that's definitely my first piece of advice. The second is knowledge-based, is helping yourself have a really good understanding of how to go from assessment data to instruction. Because I have found that that's the area that teachers feel the least confident doing, and they need the most support sort of looking at their data and saying, what do I do with this now? And over the summer, I did the official Acadience, like train the trainer workshop that they offer. And that was fantastic. So I would definitely recommend that to folks who want to build that knowledge capacity. But I think that's a really helpful tool to have in your literacy coach pocket, is really understanding how to go from data to instruction. And then the last one is a little bit silly, but I would recommend having like a second computer screen or a second computer monitor. Because
not silly though.
Right? I brought one, I had one at home and I brought it to school, and I use it so much when I'm looking through data or trying to like answer emails and find information for people. Just having two screens to have like spread out in front of me has been incredibly helpful. So I think that's a must-have.
I love that. I know toggling between tabs sometimes can slow down the productivity a bit, especially when you're in the thick of data analysis. So where can my listeners find you?
Yeah, so I'm probably most active on Instagram. My handle is @readingwithmrsif. Mrs. If is just a shortened version of what students call me, because Irion-Frake is a lot to remember. Irion starts with I, Frake starts with F, so If worked, Mrs. If. So yeah, Reading with Mrs. If on Instagram. I'm on Facebook too, and a little bit on TikTok, but not nearly as active. That's more just where I consume literacy content. I do have a website. It's readingwithmrsif.com. And you are more than welcome to reach out through email, which is also readingwithmrsif@gmail.com. So I love chatting with people about all things literacy related.
Perfect. And we could link all of that in the show notes, and even your recommendations of trainings and stuff. We'll put that all in the show notes. Awesome. So Hannah, it has been a pleasure chatting with you today. And I loved the first year literacy coach perspective that you shared. And look, 1 month in and you are already changing the world over here and transforming things in your school district. So thank you so much for joining me. And I can't wait to chat again soon.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for tuning into Literacy in Color. I hope today's episode left you feeling both inspired and equipped with something new to add to your teaching toolkit. If you're enjoying this podcast, it would truly mean so much to me if you'd leave a 5-star review. It helps other educators find the show and join our colorful community. And don't forget to hit the follow or subscribe button so you never miss an episode. For more tips, tools, and resources, be sure to check out the links in the show notes at michelleandthecolorfulclassroom.com. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you next week. Until then, be colorful and teach colorfully.